Yeah, my bed's a fucking mess. Let's just move on. Time to do the commentary track for the Jeff the Killer movie. And I decided because we have the power of YouTube at hand here, as opposed to like a DVD menu where you literally just have to talk over the movie as it plays. Um, I'm going to pull the movie up, and I will be pausing throughout just if I want to elaborate on things a little bit more, which is great for you guys because it means you get more of me, and I know we all want that. Um, Hopefully, I'm also in the corner of the screen. Would it be, or would that be wherever I'm at? I'm in the corner of the screen. Hopefully, I'm not blocking anything important, but whatever. It's a commentary track, so I'd assume you saw the movie without my stupid face in the corner first. So, ideally, that would be the right thing to do. So, in this commentary track, I'm going to talk about, just generally the process of making the movie, but also kind of trying to explain why this movie is the way it is because it's definitely a weird one. And I'm going to be addressing one comment that I got related to the movie because this guy is giving me a lot of comments because apparently things aren't meeting his standards here. I feel like some of his issues are related to maybe not understanding kind of what I'm going for, or also some things are just a matter of maybe he doesn't understand just how low budget this shit is. But so one of the points he brings up, I'll just go over these before we get into the movie. Well, one, commenting that the budget is lower than usual. It's not. It's the same budget as always, which is kind of my way of saying there is never any actual budget. If by budget you mean spending money here and there when I need some stuff, sure, then maybe I spent less on this one. It's mainly because all I ever really spend the money on is effects stuff like costumes, materials, things to build stuff. I'm not like paying actors. I'm not renting equipment. Literally nothing else is money's not going to anything else, unless it's like a special occasion, like for the first Tiki Toby movie. If technically, if you want to count this, I had to buy a new computer. It's right here. That's why I'm gesturing over here. I had to buy a new computer, new editing software. I had to update a lot of stuff for that movie, but that was also equipment and software for future projects for a while. So technically, if you want to count it, Tiki Toby would be the most expensive movie I made, but it's just because of like the new equipment that I needed, which again was used for other stuff. If you don't count that, then it's the same budget as a lot of the other stuff, or the Straw Man Part 3, because I shot that on film. That, even though it was a short film, that was very expensive. But for the most part, I mean, I'm a master of stretching the hell out of a penny. Like, it says, I used a doll as the children at the party and wants to know why I didn't just use my nieces for that. Pretty easy answer. Well, I'm going to complicate it anyway, but my sister and her kids live over an hour away. They have school. My sister, who would be bringing them here, has work. So, there's a lot on their plate. It's not easy to just say, hey, come over here and do a quick scene. It's actually really complicated. So, no, I really would only use them for special occasions. Like, they were in the Candle Cove movie. Because last year for November we went to my grandma's house. We were all just there. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna bring the camera. You guys want to be in a movie? So it just kind of worked out there. But yeah, they're not gonna drive all the way over here. Like literally, they live out of state. I'm in Ohio. They're in Indiana. It's a pain in the ass. So that's kind of one reason why I wouldn't use them. But also because I didn't want to use kids. I wanted it to be fucking weird. That was kind of the point. Is I'm kind of going to get to the themes of this movie a bit, but basically a lot of the more questionable choices in this movie come down to this movie is meant to be a visual representation of mental health decline, which I thought would be an interesting approach. That we're kind of going very abstract with some of the stuff I did. The thing, even though I know like in the original, or the 2011 story, yeah, he is talking to kids who coax him into playing cowboys. But in this version, and it's important to understand that there are significant differences between the 2011 story and this thing that I've made here. In this version, literally there are no kids is the thing. The movie doesn't spell the stuff out, but there's no kids there. Jeff is wigging out. So that I might elaborate on more of these themes as we get into the commentary, but that if you want to know why I use dolls, then that's why. Now, you could also say, well, why didn't I build like some weird puppets like I usually do? Maybe that would, instead of just using dolls that I have on standby. And if you're wondering that, which some of you might be wondering, like, I usually do these weird puppets in all these movies. It's kind of like become my thing. Why didn't I do that? Because if I was going to put more effort into this one, I totally would have had weird puppets. That guy with the bag on his head, that was almost going to be a stop motion puppet. He was actually going to be an anthropomorphic mosquito initially. That was the original idea, but the reason I didn't put puppets in this movie like I usually do is because Candle Cove kind of bombed. That was very disappointing in terms of views. So I'm like, I think the ship maybe sailed on Creepypasta. So I was like, after some hemming and hawing, I said to myself, I think I will finally do a Jeff the Killer movie. But I'm not going to put my blood, sweat, and tears into it. I'll make it kind of a more simplified thing. I haven't even started the movie yet, so this is a great commentary. Hopefully the audio isn't too loud. I had it turned down. And I was recording a TV with static on it, and I had like saran wrap, and I wrote the title with blood. And you might be wondering, why did I use all this red text over this screen? It's such an eyesore. Because I want it to be an eyesore. Again, this movie is depicting mental health decline. So just from the beginning to end, I want it to be kind of like a little stressful. You might notice this is from the original story, but I changed the wording. I did change ominous to infamous because that is more proper. That's more gooder grammar, you might say. But yeah, I was going to talk about the process of this movie and how it started, and kind of explain some things. So I had watched Scare Theaters, a YouTuber, did a video about absurdist horror. And I thought, that'd be an interesting way to tell the Jeff the Killer story. Because I was at a point, I wasn't going to do any more big creepypasta movies because the recent ones I've been doing weren't doing very good. So I was like, maybe I can do like a very short movie done in this sort of absurdist style. I think I'm going to pause just to kind of explain a little bit of this. Like, the absurdist horror is basically very abstract, nonsensical stuff. And in my film, the original vision, I wasn't going to show anybody's face ever, except for after Jeff gets burned. Then I would kind of show the burns. Little to no dialogue. It was basically just going to be very abstract, and it was going to be like 5 minutes. And then I kind of thought, I did a good job on the makeup, I thought. So I was like, maybe we can make the movie a little longer. Maybe we can add a little bit more. Maybe I'll actually add some structured scenes with dialogue and actually show the characters, maybe Randy and Liu can actually have scenes. It just sort of like started to snowball. It was kind of an ass backwards way to make a movie, where I was like, first it was going to be this very simple idea, and then I made it a little bit bigger. And I was surprised when I was finished editing that we had a 30-minute movie here. And honestly, I probably could have trimmed some of the scenes down, maybe made it 25 minutes, would have been a little sharper. Some of the stuff feels like padding. But also, this is the first bigger movie that I've edited on DaVinci Resolve, which I fucking hate using. Peter, are you gonna shit? I think my cat's gonna take a shit. Which is that's not it, sis. That's not the vibe. And you also notice in this movie I use Super 8 VHS, which is what you're seeing right now. This was all going to kind of add to the mental health decline vibe of like things feeling clear sometimes, which would be the digital, but then the analog stuff is like fuzzy or kind of like when you're having mental health issues. That is kind of what it feels like. Uh, oh God, oh God, I'm probably gonna have to pause this whole thing and. Oh God, that's that. Oh, bud, fucking rancid. Jesus Christ. Um, get that out of the way. So anyway, this is one of the scenes that kind of like when I started developing the movie into more of a movie, this was added. So that's why this is all kind of shot on digital. You see my face here. You notice you didn't see my face in the previous scene because that was what the whole movie was supposed to be like, is you never see anybody's face. And that sequence of me unpacking, that was just going to be me just putting stuff away, no dialogue. You don't see Liu. But then I decided maybe we'll add the dialogue and we'll have Liu come in the door. So, yeah. And, this scene, I feel like this is one of the few scenes that really captures the vibe of like some of the earlier, like the Tiki Toby movie. Kind of just these weird mind fucking God fucking damn it. Oh my God. It's tough. Got to keep the litter box in here because these fucking stupid dogs will eat the cat shit and whatnot. So that's really fun to sleep in the same room that the cat shit. So yeah, that was, and if you're wondering about the blood going into the cup, I guess I can talk about the technical stuff. Just put a little drop of food coloring, and then as it fills with water, it's red. So there you go. I have the volume off, but you are hearing some of Zach Sisko's score here. We had fun doing that. Kind of just chilling in my room here, and the guitar and everything, and just had a little jam session there. So some of these puppets are from the Straw Man trilogy. So I reused those. Just to add a little dreamlike weirdness. They don't really mean anything. And if you're wondering about that fuzziness, that blurry, that is, I just put saran wrap over the camera lens and then put a little Vaseline. So easy little effect. And then I added a blue filter because it was like burning hot this day, and it just looked like I wanted there to be a coolness to this scene. It just looked too hot, if that makes sense. But anyway, this guy, the bag man here, I've just started calling him the bag man, but he is supposed to be that voice that we all have in our head that justifies any bad actions, essentially. Like if you're like being a bitch to somebody and people are calling you out, but you can't handle that you're a bitch, so you're like, no, they're being a bitch, or they're just being a pussy, or whatever. Whatever voice we have in our heads that's, kind of just validating bad behavior. That is what that is. This character is Sarah. This is created for the movie. This is Liu's girlfriend, who is the physical performance. That is me in drag. But the voice is one of my nieces. She did the voice, and she also, when you see her face after she's killed, that is her face as well. And you might be wondering, why did we, even after I said, okay, we'll show Liu, we'll show Randy, why did I keep Sarah we're not going to show her face? Why didn't I get anybody to do that? And I'll pause right now to explain that, because this movie's going way too fast. Again, this movie depicts mental health decline, and I wanted like mental health decline mixed with Jeff's kind of bad ideas. I kind of wanted to lean into like Jeff is like, he's like this burnout kind of like basement dwelling incel kind of creep. Because like when I did Tiki Toby, for example, that character I feel like is a little more sympathetic. He's like a victim of circumstance. Whereas I never got that vibe with Jeff. Like, yeah, he gets bullied in one scene, but it's like he pretty quickly took control of the situation, and then during that realized he loves inflicting pain. So it's hard to feel like he's really sympathetic there. So I thought, okay, Jeff is more of a like a villain. You know, again, Toby's victim of circumstance. Jeff is not a great dude. Is just how I always felt it. So I wanted to lean into like just kind of like have some bad ideas. And one thing is I wanted him to be a little misogynistic, not like over the top, making it overtly clear, but subtly implied. And the way I did that is that's why Susan, or did I say, is it Susan? I fucking forget if I named her Susan or Sarah. I'm having a fucking brain malfunction right now. Yeah, it was Susan. My thoughts are not together. Susan is like the only female character really in this movie, and she is constantly nagging at Jeff. So he basically doesn't respect her, is what I'm getting at. He has a very low opinion of her. She's just a nagging voice, so therefore she has no face. Again, this is like a movie through the lens of like somebody with crumbling mental health, and a lot of like those incel weirdos I do think have severe mental health issues that they're not addressing, and instead of, you know, maybe trying to think like, should I do things to help myself, they just make it worse by validating bad ideas, misogynistic ideas that encourage violent behavior, anything of that sort. So yeah, that's why you don't see her face. Now we're kind of getting more of Randy and Liu in the film. So why don't we take another look at our buddy's wonderful comments here. So we addressed the doll. Well, he says the acting is a bit off. Let me tell you something. There ain't jack shit I can do about that. Unless you want to like get in touch with like Chris Pratt or some shit like that. Yeah, I got these are my friends. These are not actors. They're not from an acting school or anything. They're my friends who volunteered some time to be in this movie. They didn't have we had like an afternoon basically to do all of this, which is why usually I feel like when I'm doing scenes with other characters, it's a bit rushed. I don't have time to get real creative with the shots or anything. I don't have time to do dubbing because dubbing is typically you shoot the live stuff and then a separate day you get them to do dubbing. And yeah, getting people to dedicate 2 days to a shoot is damn near impossible. People have jobs. The guy playing Liu, you know, has like a wife and kids. Not kids, just one kid. But you're right. Real world responsibilities. They don't have a lot of time to dedicate to this shit. And again, they are not actors. Actually, I'm going to say the guy playing Randy, he was also adult Isaac in my Laughing Jack film. I believe he's improved significantly. I'm not saying he's good, but he's gotten a lot better since then. And the guy playing Liu, if we had time, I would have done more takes. But again, we didn't have time. And he does have a stutter in real life. So that's just, you got to work around it. These are not real actors. You know, these are my friends who volunteered time. I paid them we went to Taco Bell and I paid them with food. Some of these are just very much opinionated. A lack of eerie atmosphere in dark piano music. I mean, I didn't want dark piano music. So I wanted garage rock, grungy guitar music. So, you know, some of these are just kind of, it's not how you would do it, but this is what I wanted. And then I think the final point is some of these characters could have had more screen time and be developed more. And I'm going to get into that a bit. As I was just saying, they didn't have a lot of time. More screen time means you need more time to shoot these scenes, which I did not have. We did not have a lot of time. If I felt more confident in this movie, maybe I would have made the effort to really plan more days. It's just that you have to accept, like, we shot this in, I think this was August, we shot this stuff. Like, Liu and Randy, they were all shot the same day, I believe in August. Realistically, if we shot stuff that day in August and I wanted to shoot a second day with either of them, it's not unlikely. It's November. It just turned November 3rd as of recording this. it's very likely that I would still be trying to schedule that second day. Maybe they'd be able to do it then 1 week later, maybe it'd be many months later. It's a shit show. And then you have to deal with, like, are they going to get a haircut? Are they going to forget to wear the clothes that they had or anything? Like, a million things can go wrong. If I felt more confident in the movie, I would also be like, okay, what's your clothing size? We'll just have a costume that I keep here, and we'll get a wig or a hat so we don't have to worry about your hair. But I did not feel, after Candle Cove bombed, I'm just like, I'll do a Jeff movie, but I'm not gonna slit my wrists and bleed all over the video footage and do some sort of ritual. Like, I'm not putting that's a very elaborate way to say I'm not putting my soul into it, because Candle Cove took like 3 months to get the first 1,000 views, and that's not great for the amount of work that I put into Candle Cove. That's not great. And I'll be honest, I put a lot less work into this Jeff movie. 1,000 views within the first few days. So if you guys want me to do better, I gotta see that you care, I guess, is what it is. I feel like at the end of the day, it's just more, Jeff is a way more popular character. Candle Cove is popular, but among a more select group of creepypasta fans. So it's like, I just got to do the right one. So I did say if this movie hits 300,000 views, I will do a Jane the Killer movie, which will be a sequel to this. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but I will do it if we hit that number. If it actually does get that many views, then that tells me that, you guys care enough, and it'll make it more worth it to put more effort into the Jane movie. I might try to, like, cast people that are maybe a little better at acting, maybe put a little bit money into it. I just didn't want to, like, put a ton of money and effort into something for it to just be another flop in terms of views. I mean, I don't get any money out of this, so it's just me putting in tons of effort, and then that's it. So I think I addressed all of Dude's points in this and kind of explained pretty much, some of it is a stylistic choice that you just don't agree with, and sorry. Some of it is because actors have very limited schedules. One more thing I did want to say, because you said in terms of more development with the character. So part of it is because they don't have a lot of time to do a bunch of scenes. Another part of it is I kind of didn't want a lot of character development. I just wanted enough so you get the gist of this character, because of the whole theme of mental health decline. I don't know how many of you can relate to having mental health struggles with anything like depression, anxiety, anything. But when you have issues with this, sometimes you do feel isolated from people. Even if you live in a house with people, you just feel removed. So I'll explain some of these things as we get to it. We'll get into this scene now. So this was shot in front of a Dollar General. I wanted to expand the locations a bit. I don't know how noticeable it is. On this day, we did put black spray in my hair to make my hair look black, but we just ran out. So my hair is darker, but it's not totally black. And you might notice when I went to punch Randy, if you look around, it's raining. So that scene is going to be a little bit more elaborate, but the weather just got dog shit, which is another thing that can affect scenes if they feel a little rushed, or if you feel like, this scene's a little short or whatever, or anything. Sometimes it's the weather just says you're not doing the scene actually. So then we have to improvise. I know I was going to shoot more inside of the Dollar General too, but the power went out while we were there. So here we have, this is more of a visual way to show that Jeff has the feeling. It's him like just punching a brick wall and it shows there's a little bit of blood, so he did like hurt his hand. I probably should have put like bandages on his hand later, but I just whatever. But you notice in this scene, okay, so Liu's talking to him, but Jeff is just standing there not saying anything. His face isn't even fully in frame. This is kind of going into that sort of mental health theme of his brother's there talking to him, and there's just a disconnect. He might as well not be there. And you see this black and white Super 8 footage that I'm cutting into this scene. I did shoot all of that. I had a expired cartridge of Super 8 film that I shot kind of on a gamble. Like, is this going to come out? I don't know. But I shot this footage in this cemetery, and I thought it'd look really cool to just cut in some Super 8 footage. And this is in my backyard here. But I found a guy through YouTube who develops expired film, because it's like a whole process of developing expired film compared to fresh film, you know. So yeah, he was like $40 to develop it, and I think it came out great. Even the dude said like he was impressed that it actually came out as nice as it did. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, it looks so cool. I just love that. Yeah, and that whole scene in the cemetery is, Jeff again just being isolated from people. So I guess that's trying to think of like what I'm even trying to say here. That's the point of the movie, is that Jeff has bad mental health and is just isolated from people. And, when people isolate to this extent that he is, eventually things get bad, I guess, is what I'm saying. And we're getting the scene where he puts on the hoodie. I had to add that. So this is the birthday party, and this probably could have been cut down. This is one of those things that I feel like this is a little too much padding. It could have been cut down a bit, but it's fine, whatever. So those are my cousins playing the party guests, and their grandmother is also there, and you just saw me in my my fursuit. Yeah, so they just came over for dinner one day. We do like Sunday cookouts sometimes. They came over and I said, hey, put these party hats on. I just want to get some B-roll of this. And then that's me playing the clown. So yeah, I am multitasking in terms of roles here. And again, why bother getting a bunch of different people if I wasn't very confident in the end product? So you see there's a few parts of the movie where I'm clearly wearing a wig as opposed to putting the spray in my hair. Those scenes were shot when this was supposed to be all done in that absurdist style I was talking about. So I was like, you're never going to see my face. I'll just put this wig on and that'll be fine. And then even after I decided to show my face more, I was like, I'll still use the wig, but I think it was the scene where he has bandages all over his face, and I tried to put those over the wig, and it just kept falling off. It's like, you know what? I don't care if I shot part of this already. Just fuck the wig. We're not using it. Okay, so there we just saw the clown dolls, which are not really there, and it's cutting to toys. This is supposed to kind of imply, because this is how I always read this sequence in the 2011 story, is that this is a scene where it's like he's living some childhood fantasies one last time before it permanently dies and we go full dark mode. So that's why you see the toys. And you see him just running around gleefully. Also note, there's no kids in that scene. Why? Because I'm too cheap to add kids? No. There are no kids. He's literally just running around by himself. He's nuts. And now we have the conflict with Randy here. I regret not adding a little bit of bruise makeup. I should have done that. But again, we were very rushed. We did not have a lot of time. So, yeah. This is somewhat based on the scene in the 2015 version where Randy tries to act like he's friends for a brief moment just to get close to Jeff. I think I got the volume off right now, but I think Jeff said that line, "Well, you some kind of trust fund kid or something." I kind of want to imply maybe Jeff doesn't even really know what that means, so he's just like, that means like rich kid, right? Like maybe he meant to say nepo baby, but he's just like whatever. Kind of like he doesn't really know because he's not. I'm also implying he's not super educated here. And then Randy just agrees because he doesn't fucking care. He just wants to splash the acid in his face. So, yeah, and then we have him running into the forest to get to the water to wash the burns off. And you'll see there are random Super 8 shots cut into this, like right there, that's a Super 8 shot. So the color Super 8 footage was developed by Pro 8mm, which is where, if I'm buying like brand new film, that's where I get it from. It's, as far as I've been able to find, the most cost effective developer for that. And this scene where he like runs to the water and he uses this dirty water to wash out his wounds. This sequence has been in my head for a while, and it's basically, I ripped it off from the 1943 Phantom of the Opera, where he gets acid splashed in his face, and he goes down into a sewer and uses that to wash his face out, which is probably more disgusting. But, yeah. So, here he is in the hospital, and I would have drawn the hospital scene out more if this was a bigger production that I felt confident in. But pretty much just he gets out of bed and then he goes to a mirror to unwrap the bandages. And then as soon as he reveals his face, cut, we're back at the house. So yeah, I kept that sequence pretty brief. And that's kind of how it would have been if we did the absurdist horror thing. This is a nice part about being in the little corner of the screen, is I can do quotations and you can see all that action. But yeah. When it was going to be the absurdist horror, there would have just been short scenes like that. Like this is still kind of part of that absurdist, like half absurdist horror, half analog horror kind of. Like this is a very kind of like liminal space type of horror, where it's just a static shot, and yeah, Susan is there, but she's like way back, and it's shot on that fuzzy VHS. That was kind of part of the creepiness of this movie that I was going for, where there was going to be a lot of static shots shot on fuzzy VHS video, which to me, that's just kind of creepy. I don't know. There's a spooky vibe. This scene where the bag man is giving Jeff this little prep talk, this was literally shot days before the premiere. Like, I was like, I think we need a little extra something. And I know I added that line about Jeff having an alcohol problem in the past, so I thought there should be like a payoff to that. Now, I will say this movie, I started working on it in, I think, July, and then it came out in October. Let's say I started in November and then it came out in October, this would have been a lot more developed and a lot more cleaned up, but I was going through the strategy of I'm going to do a bunch of creepypasta movies throughout the course of this year, and ended up getting 4 total, but had I just said, like, I'll just do a Jeff movie and I'll put my full effort into that, probably would have been a lot better. But either way, most of you seem to like this. You seem to be pretty happy with it, so. I will say, as a artist, I'm always unhappy with most of the shit that I do. So the fact that most of you are watching this saying like, "Oh, I love it. I get the style, and the experimental shit and all that." The fact that I was getting a lot of comments like that is nice. So the Bagman shows his face. That was just like a last minute idea. I had this rubber mask of that zombie face. Just thought that'd be a cool visual. It doesn't really mean anything. I didn't make it. I know. Normally I make my own shit. This movie was just more like, you just use what you have. I didn't want to put a lot into it. I knew stuff that I did want. Like what you're seeing right here. This walking in the kitchen, it's all dark, grabs a knife and then walks out. And then I love that because it's this VHS. You see his face, but it's not perfectly clear. I didn't want to show a lot of clear shots of the face. I just wanted enough that it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's a creepy visual. So I knew I wanted stuff like this. I did make the prosthetic. I knew I wanted to look good. But then other stuff, I'm just like, what do I got in my Halloween costumes and whatnot? Yeah, like you can imagine this if I just did an analog horror video. Like this would be perfect for that, you know. But I just thought as I went on, like this would be better to flesh the story out a little bit more, develop the characters a little bit more. I didn't want to do it too much because again, this is supposed to be a mental health decline that you are seeing depicted on film. So this is the part where he kills Susan, and again, this was a last minute idea, like the day before premiere, literally one day before premiering. I added that is Susan's face. So if you're wondering, like, what the hell is that girl's face? That was Susan. And that was my niece who did the voice. So yeah, that was just like a last minute, like I said, here, put this hat on and we'll get a picture. And that was a way to humanize her a little bit. Because, yeah, she's like a bitchy, nagging character, but she's right. Everything she's saying is, for the most part, right. Maybe scolding Jeff for beating up Randy, that's a little more nuanced there. But for the most part, Jeff is a burnout. He's a bum. She's right about what she's saying. But Jeff doesn't want to hear it, so that's why she becomes this faceless, nagging voice. And this, I thought was important. In the original story, Jeff kills Randy, I think, before he gets lit on fire. So it's like, no, he should burn him, and then Jeff should come back to get his revenge. That's how, like, a slasher movie would do it. So, yeah. This scene was going to be gorier initially. I mean, we got some blood spray, and it's on the knife, and you got blood gushing there. But I was actually going to show him, like, pulling the eyeball out. But, again, just we were on a schedule. We had to go. So, you still get to see the eyeball, you know. So, there is some gory stuff here. That was a big thought in my head is, if I make this movie and there's no, like, barely any kills and there's, like, no gore, it's going to suck. So I had to make sure I had some gore. And this song you're hearing is, you probably can't hear it on this commentary track, I don't know, but this is I Guess You're Right by the Posies. And this song appeared in the original Sesher video about Jeff the Killer. And if I hadn't mentioned this yet, my version that I did here, I'm taking the 2008 Sesher version and the 2011 story, and I'm basically cropping them together. There's also little bits of the 2015 version, not a lot. But yeah, that's why I added that song as a nod to that. And as you see, Jeff is just boiling parts of Randy. So if you're wondering, if you didn't put it together, all those body parts in the basement, the guts and everything, that's Randy. He's just been tearing Randy apart and just basically just playing with it because he's not well, you know. Um, yeah. And that foot prop, that was made for the Straw Man Part 2, and that's actually molded from my foot. I just put plaster over my foot and then use that to make a prop foot. So that is based on my foot, in case you're wondering. So, and there is a Susan body. You can kind of see my face in that. It's shadowed, but you can kind of see that it's my face. So, but yeah. So yeah. I feel like this is probably one of the creepier scenes in the movie. I don't know what all of you think, but just him in that dark basement. You can kind of see his face, but it's still shadowed. These were the visuals that I was wanting the movie to just focus on the most. I think that effect came out pretty good. And that's another thing about shooting schedules. Okay, so I had the slit throat effect. So that's makeup stuff that I had to apply to him. That takes time, which means we have less time to shoot scenes. So like he actually had to like lay down on my bed and I put this prosthetic on, which had like a tube that went all around his back with syringes. And I think it literally, after I shot the blood out and we did the take, I think it just fell off. The spirit gum did not hold after that. So thank God we didn't have to do another take because that would have been a pain in the ass. But yeah, I did make that prosthetic. I sculpted it and everything. And yeah, I think it came out good. And that's the moon. And the moon was done that's a balloon. I blew up a balloon, put a flashlight behind it. And then the fog was actually, I set up a green screen with a tank of water and I injected, I think it was red food coloring into it. And then I just changed the color when on DaVinci Resolve. So I did a lot of editing to those shots when I composited them. But yeah, that I wanted it. I thought I could just get a picture of the moon off the internet, but I think I was in a mood where AI shit was pissing me off so much, and hopefully that shit goes away. Like it won't go away, but hopefully it chills the fuck out because it sucks. It's dog shit. But yeah, AI shit was just pissing me off so much. So I was like, I'm gonna just be ambitious on this one thing for some reason. Like I don't want to be lazy and just get a picture of the moon. I want to make my own moon. So those are Susan, Liu, and Randy. Their bodies are buried under there. And in the opening scene, when you see that body with the sheet over it, that is supposed to be Liu. And the implication is that the police did find the bodies and they dug them up. So that's what that is supposed to be. This was one of the visuals that was in my head since the beginning of him looking through this window. And I even made that the thumbnail for the video. Because, yeah, I think that's just a really creep. This reminds me of there was a Shea St. John video with a similar visual. So I just wanted something like that. So this is him breaking into a random person's house. And we got some of my friends did the victim and the cop who eventually shows up. And then my aunt did the 911 operator. Again, and this was again part of when I was going to lean into the analog horror, absurdist horror kind of thing. I was like, that scene is such a analog horror kind of thing. Like, just have the 911 call recorded, and you don't need to see anything; you just hear it. So, thought that was cool. And then it abruptly cuts when you hear the window break, and then you see this trail of blood. So this is in my mouth being super dry. yeah, you see, he's leaving that blood behind as he runs away from the police, basically. Um, I really debated in this scene, like when he like has that hallucination of like his flashback to him and Liu, and then when he comes out of it, and he like looks into the camera, basically. I debated, should we get a quick shot of like a police officer running over and then just shooting him in the face, and then maybe I'd have like a fake head that just explodes, just to definitively say, yes, he's dead. Um, but I thought I might do sequels, and my only real issue with that makeup, I'm getting sidetracked. My only issue with the makeup is it's not perfect around the eyes, but we did not have a $8 million budget or whatever, so sorry. And also, I thought originally that the makeup would just be shown on like VHS footage. I wasn't planning originally to do any digital footage, but it's fine for what it is. And that scene right there was also from the Sesher video. As sort of, if you watch that original Sesher video, you'll see what I mean. The Posies music is no longer included on any of the versions because of the copyright issue, obviously. But yeah, so I'm gonna pause because I'm trying to catch up here. I thought I might do sequels, so I was like, we won't kill Jeff definitively. We'll leave it ambiguous. Maybe he bleeds out. Maybe he recovers. So that's why I voted to not have a scene where his whole face gets blown out. I also thought my version of Jeff in Toby versus Jeff is a lot more of a scumbag. Like, dude killed the cat in that one, right? He had to die hard, right? So in that version, in Toby versus Jeff, he falls on a stick and gets impaled. Then Toby throws that big cinder block and it like lops off the whole top of his head. Like, that felt more fitting for that version because he's like, I wanted people to hate him a little bit more in that version. Where this version, he's not a good guy in this version, make that clear, but he's not a total scumbag. So I was like, we don't need a brutal death. And again, I was like, there might be sequels. We'll see. I didn't really want to do a sequel, but I was like, let's see what happens. And now this is after uploading the video, and within 2 days it got 1,000 views. I'm like, okay, this is doing a lot better than any of the other creepypasta films that I made this year. And people seem interested in it. Like, the bulk of my audience did not hate this to the extent where they didn't want any sequels. So Jane the Killer might happen, but also 300,000 views. We got to make it happen, otherwise. In the meantime, I'm working on an original story that hopefully I can actually get distributed properly, not on like YouTube, but maybe take it to the next level. I keep trying to do that with different projects and they fail. If you've been following the channel the past few years, I had the Sleepy Hollow movie I was going to do and I canceled that. I had something called Trash Tales from the Alley that got canceled. I was going to do a found footage kind of parody movie about a cryptid called the Slide Rock Bolter, and that got canceled. That got canceled so I could work on this instead. So maybe that was the right choice. I don't know. But either way, I've been wanting to do a feature length movie that I could get distributed or put on a streaming service, something that's like the next level. And if the project's never right. Forgot what this whole scene where the bag man is talking to Jeff here and saying like, I just don't know if this is gonna work out. It's not gonna work out if you bleed out. Maybe if you pull through. This is literally the bag man basically saying, if this movie does good, then we'll do a sequel. If it bombs, then that's it. We're done. And then here's all the handwritten credits. I wanted this whole movie to feel rough. Like, even on party attendances, I forgot to put the R, so I went back and fixed it. So it's like, I wasn't going to rewrite the whole thing. It's just, let's make it look shitty. Let's have that rough, shitty VHS footage. The Super 8 footage is all grainy. Let's have these handwritten credits. Even the opening title was handwritten in fake blood. And the music had that garage rock sound that we recorded just with my camera. We just recorded it with, I think we used my phone camera, recorded it on that. And yeah, it just adds a roughness. Like, not like poor quality, but stylistically rough is, I guess, what I'm trying to say is what we were going for. So yeah, that was my Jeff the Killer movie. And it's over. Cool. So yeah, I think I explained as much as I could why some of the weirder qualities of the movie are here, and I think I explained some of the issues to the guy that commented. He's been commenting a lot about things, and I just thought I should explain what's up. Hopefully I just answered the questions. Really, they weren't questions, they were criticisms of the film, but I explained why certain things weren't as good as they could have been, and why certain things maybe just weren't what you wanted. Overall, this movie's mostly how I wanted it. I mean, yes, I would have liked it if we had better actors. I would have liked it if maybe I had more time to do this, that, and the other. A lot of it comes down to just I wasn't sure if it was gonna be successful, and I didn't want to put a lot of work into something. That was just gonna be another meh views. But so far, this one is, out of the 4 creepypasta movies that I did for 2025, this one is performing the best. And now it's kind of like, had I known it was going to do this good, maybe I would have put more work into it. But I have a while to figure out what I'm going to do with the Jane the Killer movie. And this is way planning ahead here, but I'm thinking if I do it, it's not going to be called Jane the Killer. I'm probably going to call it Jane versus Jeff the Killer. So it'll, and I know they did a Jeff versus Jane story. I got to brush up on all the Jane the Killer stories. It's been a while. But yeah, I will lean more into like it is her hunting him down to stop him. Kind of, that seems to be like her thing is she seems more like an anti-hero kind of character, so we might lean into that. But I also still want, because this is like just, this is how your brain thinks when you're on YouTube for too long. It's like, I want Jeff the Killer in the title because it'll be better for like coming up in search results. So we get Jane and Jeff the Killer in the title. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And thinking way ahead, you know, I figured it could be a trilogy, and I would also do Nina the Killer. And my ideas for that is that it would be leaning into people that idolize serial killers in a very gross, unhealthy way, which I really don't like that. So it's like Nina the Killer would be one of these characters who is idolizing Jeff and desperately doing things to get his attention, and maybe that doesn't work out like she plans, but we'll see. That's way off, isn't it? Like I said, 300,000 views, I'll start pre-production on Jane the Killer. I also said 100,000 views, I'll do a Mr. Widemouth movie. That'll probably be a short film, 10 to 15 minutes. He's not as popular, so I will not make it a bigger movie, but I just really like that story, and I wanted to do something. My idea is to be very artistic with it. I'll say, have you ever seen the Nickelodeon show Life with Loopy? Imagine that, but a horror film. And on that note, I think I'm going to end this. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble about all of this crap. Yeah.